Hello everyone, welcome back to Classic Automotive Services. We've got another Stag in. Yep, they keep coming. We will go on to this one in a minute as it's not very well, and we're going to do a little bit of diagnostic stuff on it in a minute. And the range has started by the sound of it. But we'll move on to this one in a minute. So we've had quite a busy week this week. We had the Reliance limiter come in that we mentioned last week. I did get a couple of photographs of it, I think, so we'll put them in at the end of the video. That was for the non-running issue. That turned out to just be the fuel lines had turned to jelly, blocking the fuel getting to the pump. So we replaced the fuel lines. They'd all rotted anyway. Cleaned the spark plugs, it fired straight up. So customer was happy with that. So he's taking it away so he can do the work on the car himself, as he just couldn't get it running. So that was that sorted. The little red TR7 that we showed last week, that's now done and gone. The customer was happy with that. So we sorted out the water pump on it. Again, we've got some photographs of that, which we'll put in, of the water pump and everything. Also had to have the engine tuned up and all set up because it was running quite rough. Fuel pipes again were all changed and upgraded for ethanol rated fuel pipes. Again, he was over the moon with that. He got in the car hadn't been used for a number of years, and drove at 60 miles home trouble free. So he's extremely happy with that. If you see on any of the TR7 forums or on Facebook and things like that, he actually put some comments about it on there. So but before we go on to the Stag, we'll do an update on the prototype TR8. Right, we've had the powder coating come back, and I've actually started doing some of the reassembly work on the injection system with all the parts we've had plated and everything else. So if anyone remembers what it looked like, it was all just completely corroded and rusty, and the aluminium got all white and powdery and horrible. But luckily enough, the underside of this plenum and the inlet manifold were like new, so we were able to match the exact finish and sheen that it was, the level of gloss. What is that what I mean by sheen? So we had the correct coating put on it. Before it was painted powder coated black, it was powder coated with a zinc rust inhibitor primer after it'd been blasted. Then it had the black put on it. So obviously you've seen a lot of the plating before. I showed when that come back. So I've started reassembling all of this. This is all original hardware. Every single nut and bolt on it is original, just been replated. It's all working perfectly as it should. If we bring the camera in, the level of detail on it is lovely. So you've got all your nuts, bolts, washers, springs. Again, everything there is original, just replated in the colours it was when we stripped it. So the butterfly, that's all cleaned up and looking good. They vapor plastered inside the plenum for us as well, so it's completely spotless clean inside and out. And it's now got new seals on the butterfly, because inside here, this end and in there, there's some little rubber seals, so they're brand new. So it should be absolutely lovely. Down here, I've got the inlet manifold wrapped up, which I've started to reassemble as well. Let's just move this out of the way. And here we've got the inlet manifold. If you come and have a closer look. So we've got the injectors all rebuilt, put back in with all the original hardware. We've got all new ethanol rated fuel pipes, the original fuel rails, which were plated as well, stainless steel Jubilee clips, which the customer requested, and yeah, so we're just going through the process of going through all the plated parts and reassembling everything on it, so it will look absolutely spick and span when it's done. If I just offer this on, which way round did it go? Where's the front? That's the Mac. This way. That's front. That will give you a rough idea of how the injection system will look somewhat when it's finished. So there is still more throttle linkage brackets that to go on, which I've already rebuilt. I showed that in a previous video, which is just over here. There's another part of the throttle linkage. Again, that was all individual components, stripped down, replated. The bushes are original. There was nothing wrong with them, so we extracted them and before it's plated, and they've been put back in. This bracket goes, I believe, on the back of the manifold somewhere. I have to look at my pictures to double check. No, it doesn't. I think it goes on there, one way or another. No, not sure. I'll have to look at my pictures to find out exactly which way it goes, because there's so much of it, it's hard to remember where everything goes on it. Let's just move it out of the way and re-wrap this up. So we've had a lot of the powder coating done for the engine. Well, everything for the engine that needs to be powder coated has been done. And it's all in this box down here. There for a minute. Wrap it up in a little while. So we've got rocker covers. They've, again, same treatment, been blasted inside and out, so they're like brand new. They've just got to be reassembled with the baffles and everything in there. They had the same treatment as every rest of it, where it was done with the zinc rust inhibiting primer first, and then the black. So they look absolutely spectacular. The engine is going to look like a work of art when it's done. It looked like something you could literally put in your living room as a piece of artwork. So we've got everything, got pulleys, brackets, engine mount brackets, lifting eyes, all of it was done. So, but we did have a little bit of bad news about the engine. When was that? I think it was one day in the week. The machine shop phoned me and asked me to go in and have a look at the block, as they cleaned it and they honed the bores and then measured them, and they're, well, there's no way to put it, they're knackered. So the engine's had a hard life, as you can see from all the bearings and everything else in the previous videos. They measured tooth thou big at the top, which tooth thou, it's not really here nor there. You could get away with running that, but the main concern was that the bores were quite badly ridged at the top as well. Not just the very top, but further down the bore, there's some nasty ridges in them, which the bores aren't straight. So unfortunately, it's going to have to be rebored. So it's one of them things. We've managed to source Hepolite pistons for it. We can get plus 20s and plus 30s, as we will not be using cheap, nasty pistons, i.e. County. They will not be going anywhere near the engine, and neither will anything else made by them. We refuse to put it in there. We will hunt around for the other parts, a decent quality part to put in it. So we have, like I said, we have managed to get the Hepolite pistons for it. We're just not sure what size we're going to have to go for yet. So they're going to bore it out to 20 to start with, and leave just a little bit in for honing. Hopefully the bores will clean at 20. If not, it will have to go plus 30. So that's in their hands at the moment. But the other thing with it as well, as we're changing the pistons, and they're going to be heavier than standard pistons because they're bigger. On the V engine, that's going to really drastically throw the engine balancing out. So the rotating system is going to be rebalanced. With a V engine, the crankshaft, they use bob weights to balance it. So if we weren't having it rebored, there was no need to have it rebalanced. It's not a full race engine or anything like that, so the standard balancing would have been more than adequate for it. But as it's having a rebore, it will be rebalanced as well. But that's the only bad news we had about the engine. But it just also goes to show the history of the car as well, being used by the rally drivers as a recce car. It tallies up that the engine had a really hard life in its early days. So they're going to sort out the engine and get it all machined. Once the machine is done, it will be coming back so I can build it. Once I've got the block back, before I start building that up, I will then get the head stripped, and they'll have the heads while I build the bottom end. So that's where we're up to on the TR8. We are making good progress with it. The body shell will be coming back from the dippers possibly late next week, early following week. It is done. It's at the dippers. We're just tallying in with a driver to go and collect it. So you can drop one car off and pick another car up. It's not having another car dipped, it's a car that the owner sold. So it's tallying up with that. So it makes it worthwhile for the driver to go and pick it up. So we have got the space for it, so that's reserved for the shell. So yeah, it'd be nice to see that shell come back, and I have every faith that it's going to be absolutely perfect when it comes back. They have already told us it is exceptional, so yeah, I've got no reasons to disbelieve that. So that's the update on the TR8. So we'll move on to this troublesome white Stag, and we'll see what's wrong with that. Right, we have this Mark 1 Triumph Stag. And it is a Mark 1 Triumph Stag, before people start commenting saying no, it's a Mark 2, going off on 1. It is a Mark 1 Triumph Stag that has been made to look like a Mark 2. It's had the pinstripe put on it, and it's had the yellow wheels put on it. And the roof has been changed at some point for a Mark 2 hood, as the Mark 1s have an extra pair of side windows. But the dashboard Mark 1, seats are Mark 1 doors, everything in here is Mark 1. It's got the ballast resistor on it. It's got it's a Mark 1 car. So now what it's in for is what Stags are famous for, and that is getting hot. And it is getting hot rather quickly. You can run it up. I've run it up today, and it does get hot quite exceptionally fast. So the customer's brought it in. First thing that rings alarm bells to me is that it's had a brand new radiator fitted, and it's also had a Kenlo fan fitted. All new radiator hoses fitted on it. So this person hasn't owned this car very long, bought it like it. So that's already starting to ring alarm bells for me that this car's had a history of getting hot and overheating. So it's not the thermostat. The thermostat is opening and the water is flowing. So there's not many other things it can be. The first thing we're going to do is, the battery is nearly charged now. We can hopefully be able to run it for long enough, as the fuel pump is temperamental on it as well. It runs when it likes, so it is warmed up. So hopefully it will fire back up, and we can do a test on it to see if it's blown a head gasket, which I'll show you in a minute. I'll just take it off charge and then I'll get the test. So what we've got here is a combustion leak tester, and we're going to put this on the cooling system with the engine running, and it sniffs out the air in here and see if there's any exhaust gases in the cooling system. If this liquid goes from blue to green or yellow, then we've got a blown head gasket, and that's definitive, and that's what it's going to be. So it's a very good, quick, easy test to determine what's wrong with it. If it doesn't change colour, then there are other things it can be, and we'll go into it. And it's absolutely hammering it down with rain now, so I hope you can still hear me. Now this engine has got other issues other than the getting hot. It doesn't run very well. It runs really quite rough, really, and it's also very, very rattly at the top end and timing chains. So that's something else that's going to have to be looked at. But we'll see if it will start and run for long enough to do this test. Alright, there isn't any, that's not changed colour. Prove it if we go around the back of the car quickly. So right, as you can see, that is now changed to green by going to the exhaust on the car. So it didn't when I tested the cooling system. So there is no exhaust gases getting into the cooling system. So the head gaskets haven't failed. It's not mixing oil and water, and it's not getting any coolant into the water system. Sorry, it's not getting any exhaust gas into the cooling system, which says the head gaskets are sealing. So yeah, that was bright blue. It's now, if I tip it, green. So now on a Stag, what else can it be? Well, it could be that the block is sludged up. It's already had a new radiator, so the radiator shouldn't be sludged up unless the water system is completely sludged and it's now blocked it again, which is a possibility. It could be a faulty temp sender showing a wrong read on the gauge, but that wouldn't make the engine actually run hotter, which it is doing that. It is getting hot and starting to push coolant out. So it's not that. The other thing it can be is, there's only really two things it can be after this, and that is the water pump. Something wrong with that. It's not pumping the water correctly, but the middle of the V is dry. So it could be something wrong with the water pump in the shimming. Maybe it's had a pump in there and it's not shimmed up properly. It's not circulating water correctly. Chances are that the heads are still going to have to come off. My bet is that on the head gaskets on the Stags, you've got restrictor holes on the water system. I wouldn't mind betting that they're blocked. I've seen it quite a few times. You get sediment and crud and corrosion build up on the hole. It restricts it down to virtually nothing, and it then cooks the head. Where's the temp sender on these? It's on the head. So that would be my favourite as to what it is. But what we'll do to start with, before we start ripping it apart, is we will drain the cooling system, fully flush it, and make sure we'll back flush it and make sure the whole system is as clean as it can be. We'll then refill the coolant up, and again we'll flush the radiator as well. We'll fill it up and bleed it off properly and see if that sorts it. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to start delving into top end of the engine, carbs off, manifold off, and get to the water pump and check that first. If there's nothing wrong there, then yeah, unfortunately it's going to be heads off, and it'll probably be the blocked holes in the head gasket. But that's what these things are famous for. They're common for blocking up the holes in the head gasket. I haven't actually got any old ones to show you what I'm on about. But if you look at the head gasket, the waterway holes are tiny compared to the openings in the block, and they build up with sludge and corrosion, and they close up, and it goes hard and it sets, especially when the cars have been sat and you don't get any water flow around top in the engine. So yeah, so we've got some more investigation to do on this one, which we'll do on Monday. So on Monday we'll start investigating it and find out exactly what it is, and let the customer know what we find with it. Fingers crossed a good cooling flush will sort it. In the test's proven that it's not got any combustion in the water system. If a good flush sorts it, happy days. If it doesn't, yeah, it's not going to be good news for it. So on that note, we'll leave you there this week. So please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.